Hey, welcome back to another $1 Million Body podcast. I'm your host, Coach Nate, and today we are talking about the mentality that comes with having a great relationship with food. And what does that look like? So let me take it back real quick, because when I get on a phone call with a brand new client or someone who's potentially looking for some advice, might be a good fit for a client, people are usually surprised by my process. And my process is this. Essentially what I'll do is I'll get on the phone and I'll be like, listen, like, you want advice, you want to know calories, you want to know your fats, you have all these specific questions, but until we know some certain things, I can't recommend anything to you. So what's going to happen on this call today is I'm going to ask you a ton of questions. You're going to talk the entire time. And from the pieces of information I'm going to get from you and the questions I'm going to ask, I'm going to have a lot better idea of what you need to do to take action to move forward. So whether that's, a lot of times I'll recommend, hey, you should definitely work with me in this capacity. Sometimes I'm like, hey, not a good fit right now, no problem. But either way, people are very surprised that I don't tell them what to do on these initial calls. I ask a ton of questions. Ask anyone who's been on a call with me in the past year or so. They'll tell you that they spoke for the entire time while we were talking, having a conversation. And the reason is this: I want to know what their goal is, and I also want to know why it's important. So people will get on the phone and they'll say, you know what, man, like, I need to lose 20 pounds. I need to lose 40 pounds. I need to get rid of this gut. I really don't feel good when I look at myself in the mirror. I don't like how I show up on camera screens. I have a weird relationship with my body right now. I don't feel good. I want to lose this belly, essentially, is the gist of what I hear most often. So I'll be like, okay, cool. Like, well, like, what does that mean for you? Why is that important to you? And they'll be like, oh, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. Okay, cool. Why is that important to you? What does that mean for your life? And those two questions are really important to me, because at the end of the day, when someone is able to connect a physical goal, whether it's fitness, building a business, hitting a certain financial goal, anything like that, when they're able to connect it to different areas of their life, rather than just being this single focus on me personally getting better, doing something, when you're like, you know what, actually getting healthier is going to help me with my relationship with my wife. Getting healthier, dropping this belly, is going to make me a better father, because I'm going to have more energy to be with my kids, and I know I'm going to be healthier to live to see their graduation, them getting married, etc. You know what, getting healthier is going to be great for my business, because I'm going to have more energy at work. I'm going to be more of a leader, and I know that's going to have financial repercussions. So now when you take those things and you're like, okay, I can see that not only do I want this because, there's a vanity piece to it. I don't like the way I look or feel. I have no energy, those sorts of things. When you start connecting it to those more powerful pieces of people outside you, because guaranteed, you will do more for someone else than you'll do for yourself. This is just a fact of human nature. You'll do more for the people that you care about than you'll do for yourself. And especially, there are certain people who are just, givers, caretakers, who will do 100% more for other people than they'll ever do for themselves. I'm talking about moms, nurses, the person I'm talking about here. So when we can start connecting why it's important that we get our own health in line to those other pieces, those other people who are going to benefit from us taking this time to focus on our health, and being maybe a little more selfish, in terms of not saying yes to going out to eat all the time, not saying yes to that second drink, not saying yes to getting a blizzard, which I did yesterday. Then it's much easier for us in that moment when things got hard. You're 6 weeks into a program. There's always a 6-week road bump. Things get hard in the program. Rather than being like, man, I got to wake up again, I got to do this workout, I got to go in my calendar and check this box off. Rather than being in that spot because it's all about you, it's all about fixing you and figuring you out, you can think, you know what, I got to do this for my daughter. I have to do this for my marriage. I need to do this to have the job and the business and the success that I want professionally. And when you can connect those pieces to other things that are outside of you that have to do with other passions and areas where you're very, very interested, it becomes so much easier long-term to stay the course, to push past those bumps in the road. And don't get me wrong, bumps will appear. And if you don't think that, then you are only setting yourself up for failure. Bumps are going to appear about the 6-week mark. You'll get another bump at like the 3-month mark. You get another bump at like the 4.5 to 6 month mark. All these things kind of coincide with plateaus and mental issues, mental hurdles that we run into. And trust me, I just know this because I've seen it so many times with so many people. And then after a while, you get some results and you're like, I could keep going, but I feel pretty good. And when that happens, you're like, let me connect again. What is my reason for doing this and why is it important? So, because if you don't have that and you're like, man, I want to lose 5 pounds, you're not going to do it. It's not like that important. So, especially when it's not just an easy process to just release 5 pounds, just change your diet just a little bit. If it's actually a grind, it's much more difficult long term. All right, so what does that have to do with mentality around eating? Obviously, that's kind of a mentality around goals. So let's bring it back to what we're talking about today. The number one problem I see with people in their personal fitness or their personal nutrition, their relationship with food, is that we don't necessarily take personal accountability and responsibility for the foods we eat and the information that we ingest about the foods we eat. And this is not anyone's fault, really. I know I said personal accountability, but to be totally honest with you, if you go out and you just look up best diet, there's going to be 800 million results that come up on Google. If you go to a supermarket and you're looking in the magazines, there's like 50% of them are going to be talking about the best diet, the low carb, the keto, the sexy diet for fat loss. Notice that no one ever is like, sexiest diet for maintaining your weight. No one ever says that. Man, this is not sexy. So we bounce around from thing to thing. So we go, oh, this guy said keto. What is that? It's butter in your coffee and everyone's eating bacon and avocado now, I guess. But we don't really figure out like what's the why behind the keto? Why does that work? What's going on there? What's this? What's the strategy? Oh, well, like I heard that if you just have celery juice in the morning, like that's just what's gonna. And so we just start like glomming onto ideas and being like, this idea now is what I follow. And so we kind of have the idea, but we don't necessarily understand the nuance and of all the little pieces that go into that. Now, most diets at the end of the day are going to work because they deliver a caloric deficit over time. Fasting can work. I mean, it has some hormonal like capabilities as well, but over time, you basically cut out an entire meal, so it gives you an easier way to eat lower calories, a 16-8 fasting protocol. Keto works, you cut out an entire macronutrient group. You cut out carbs completely, so generally it's easier to eat fewer calories. Whole30 and paleo work by cutting out all processed foods, all sugars, so yeah, you're generally gonna be eating lower calorie. It's harder to eat 1,000 calories of chicken breast than it is to eat 1,000 calories of Dairy Queen. Trust me, I tried both last night and I only succeeded with the Dairy Queen. So when we start something new, when we try to figure out like what the best diet is or what should we try next or what should we do to get results, rather than attaching ourselves to the process of learning about not only what foods do, but more specifically, what foods do to me. What happens when I eat cauliflower? What happens when I have a piece of white bread? What happens when I try a potato? What happens when I drink milk? We just take like, someone's like, oh, you can't drink milk. Milk's poison. Says fucking who? Who says milk's poison? Maybe it is for someone who's got lactose intolerance, but that's not true for everybody. So these black and white, these one size fits all, they're not necessarily serving you because they're not teaching you what the process is for you to look and feel your best. So with $1 million meal plan, with $1 million body program, what we really try to do is teach you the ins and outs of nutrition in the most simple way possible. Because I think that here's how I think of this: is level 1 of nutrition is calories in versus calories out. The law of thermodynamics, conservation of mass. If you eat more than you burn, you gain. If you eat less than you burn, you lose. And that's just the very, very basics, like there's kind of like the laws of physics as they revolve around nutrition. But we got to remember that our body's not a math equation. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. Our body's a complex chemical lab where you're pouring things in and this one's bubbling and this one's overflowing and then this one's on fire. Like there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes between our endocrine system, our hormones. Like every single one of our cells has a different function to play. What are the different macronutrients doing to your cells and signaling to your hormones and your blood chemicals? There's a lot at play. So the second level here is figuring out how to eat in a way that maximizes your energy throughout the day to give yourself the ability to do what you want at any given time. And once you got, okay, calories in versus calories out, I got it. I've tracked for 3 months. I figured, like, I get it. I know a piece of bread is 120 calories. That's really important. Like, that's an important piece of information for your long-term knowledge. The second level here is now figuring out how to eat in a way that allows you to have the life that you want. Now, this is kind of like contrary to what a lot of people talk about, like, well, I want to eat in a way that burns fat. Well, I want to eat in a way that gives me, that helps me get shredded. Well, yeah, like a lot of things can do that, but can they be sustained over time? Can you get the results from them again and again by going back to them? I don't think so. I don't necessarily think that there's many people who are following a diet that has been working for them for 2 to 5 years. A lot of people doing keto for 3 months. A lot of people have done Whole30 for a month, but no one's really taking a diet, and not many people that I know have been able to follow it for years and years and years. Generally, it just becomes a style of eating that is comfortable for you, and that is relatively easy. I think that's a big thing. It's not excessively difficult to get the food in. So all this stuff kind of might sound like I'm going off on a bunch of different tangents, but I'm trying to bring it back around to this point that I want to make here in a second, which is you need to attach the way you eat with the goals you have and the life you want to live. So, just for a few examples, let's say milk makes you feel bad. It makes you feel bloated. You don't have the ability to digest lactose. Then it would be pretty fair of me to say that when you go out to lunch, like have a client lunch, for you to get a big glass of milk to go along with your lunch is probably a pretty dumb idea, right? 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 Yeah, so that's a bad idea. But on the flip side of that, most people feel like dog shit after they eat a basket full of fries. So why the fuck do we keep having fries at lunch? So the difference is not what burns fat versus what keeps me leaner. It's what allows me to have the life, the energy, the vitality, and focus on the things that I want to focus on. What type of foods allow me to do those things? And it's not like you have to spend so much time working on this. We need to figure it out once or twice, develop a couple of contingency plans, and then just follow that. And it's not like that means you're relegated to eating like cupfuls of brown rice at lunch. In fact, it's going to give you a lot of freedom to be a little bit more black and white and be like, you know what? I don't eat fries at lunch. You know what I do have fries? I have fries for dinner. I still like fries. I eat fries. Who cares? Like, okay, that's your prerogative, I guess, as Rick James would say. But if we're doing things in a way that's going to enable us, like deliver to us the goals that we've set for ourselves in things that are outside of our normal fitness, it becomes so much easier to gain a higher level of fitness from following those at a higher level. So for example, if you know that eating carbohydrates in the morning, which I've shown a lot of times before, especially if you have an insulin sensitivity or an insulin resistance issue, metabolic syndrome, you're carrying around more visceral belly fat, you're 40 plus pounds overweight. If you have that in the morning and you're having a bagel in the morning, you're having a donut, even if you're having a banana on the way out the door, you're probably not feeling your best around 10:30. You're probably feeling like getting a snack. You're probably hungry at lunchtime. You're probably tired at 2:30. Those sorts of things are very, very common with a ebb and flow in your body's blood sugar and insulin levels. So if we know that, now we have to take it back. Okay, well, what types of food are going to enable you to feel and look the way you want to, or going to feel and have the energy that you want to get through the day to make sure that you are doing your best all day long. So ideally now we go, okay, well, if carbohydrates are spiking your blood sugar, giving you some like insulin issues, let's drop that back to a protein and a fat in the morning to give you longer term energy, longer term satiety, and not feeling snacky or like that you need a sugar rush to get through the day. Okay, so it's a shift in mentality. It's not what's going to get me lean, what says organic or low fat on the label, because the people who write labels, food labels, are not your friend. They fucking hate you. They hate you. And they hate you because they put whatever they got to put on there to make you buy their shit. And that's their game. And they don't care about you getting healthy. So when someone's like, hey, I got you this nice waffle, like this waffle mix, it says organic on it. It's got these 27 whole grains. Okay, well, the label might say one thing, and people might be like, yeah, it's got like where they mix protein in with it. But if you go to the ingredient list, you go to the nutrition facts, and it has 26 grams of carbohydrates per waffle for your breakfast, you are putting yourself behind regardless of what the label says, in spite of the label being organic, gluten-free, whatever else. So many people are like, I switched to a vegan diet. This is like a vegan product. This is a vegetarian product. This is a gluten-free product. But they don't realize that that doesn't tell the full story. The nutrition facts are really where we want to start looking. So there's two things here, two things at play. Number one, we need to become more intuitive and like more in line with what are we eating that's making us feel a certain way. If I have a shake in the morning, a protein shake with some good healthy fats and some good protein and so all these other things, and I feel great afterwards, well, okay, let's keep that up and let's dial in the shake to make sure it's fitting the macronutrients and nutrition that you need. But if you have something in the morning, you had a Cinnabon and you're like, man, I just feel like crap all day, then we know we need to change that completely. So it's becoming a little bit more well-versed in yourself. Because I could give you the best diet in the world, but if it doesn't work for you, if it involves you like waking up at 4 a.m. to cook like a omelet or something that's going to take you a long time, and you can't necessarily put that work in with your job, with your life, with your obligations, that's not going to be a good fit for you. So we got to find the thing that is. So it's taking a better interest in your own physiology. If you put this in, how do you feel afterwards? If you put this in for 7 days, how does your body change? Did you gain weight? Did you lose weight? Did you get more energy? What's going on? So looking at this a little bit more like a science experiment. And then secondly, we want to become a little bit more versed in nutrition as a whole, rather than just what so-and-so says about keto, what this guy has to say about a low-carb diet, what this guy thinks about celery juicing. Because if we can understand that carbohydrates are an amplifier, they increase things. So if we put carbohydrates and protein in, it helps increase the amount of our ability to build muscle. If we put carbohydrates and fats in, it increases our body's natural ability to store fat. If we have a protein and a fat together, that's going to increase our satiety, keep us feeling good, have a lot of mental energy without feeling those hunger pangs, that hunger on a daily basis. And if we're having proteins, carbs, and fats in the same meal, we're probably going to be a little bit more tired towards the end of the day. So it's these simple things I say simple, but it's really like it just takes some intentionality and focus on not about like, what's the outcome of this meal? Will I have abs if I eat this salad? But no, it's how do I feel after I eat this? Where am I going with this? Because only over time, having taken the time to do the work on this, figuring out what are these great meals, adding them in, testing them out, tweaking them as you go, until you do those things, you are going to continually struggle with the maintenance phase, with that long-term phase. And you might have gotten some great results with a diet in the past, with dropping weight, or you might know someone who has. But I really value the ability to self-regulate and maintain the weight that you want to be at long-term. And to do that, you need to change your mentality around what you eat and how it affects the people around you, the goals you have, the other obligations in your life, your family, your friends, your finances, all those other things. And if you can connect the food you eat to your finances, your relationships, and your hobbies, your enjoyments, your passions, it becomes so much easier to maintain long term. So that was a pretty long-winded way of going about talking through the mentality of eating. And I don't necessarily know if I gave enough specifics here. So if you have any other questions on this, if you have any other thoughts about how you could actually use this in your own life or anything along those lines or any more specifics, please drop me a question. If you're watching this live in the $1 Million Body group on Facebook, where we go live generally Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, drop a question there. If you're listening to this after the fact, you can jump into that group. The $1 Million Body group is the best fitness and nutrition community on Facebook. Then you can get there by going to n8trainingsystems.com/group and join up there. So if you have any other questions, drop me a line. Let me know how I can help you out, because I think that if we can just change our mentality very slightly around the food we're eating, it's going to make a big difference in how you look, how you feel, and everything else that comes along with those pieces. Hope you guys are having a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Let me know how I can help you out. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Talk to you soon.